Welcome to Mod Masters. Today I am going to take you through everything you need to know about getting started with Skyrim Together Reborn. I have been playing this mod, I've been trying it out and testing some stuff, and there's some things you guys need to know before you get started. I have 5 points that I'll be going through with a bonus 6th point about the things that you can exploit using this mod, so make sure you watch until the end. Alright, number 1. When installing this, make sure that you follow all of the instructions. The biggest difference between this mod and a different, like regular kind of mod you would install for Skyrim is the server component. So when you're working with this mod, you can get all the local stuff going. That stuff is pretty easy, but making sure that you have the server set up correctly is 100% crucial for making sure this mod works. Somebody needs to run the server on their PC. Somebody else needs to be able to connect to that server. This works more easily over a LAN than it does over the internet, but you can make it work over the internet. Just make sure that you follow the instructions for port forwarding and using the IP address in order to connect to the other player. Number 2, other mods. So one of the things they mentioned when they released this was that some mods don't necessarily work with this, so you have to be careful about running other mods with the Skyrim Together Reborn mod as well. Also, if you are running other mods, then you need to make sure that they're in the same load order for everybody who's joining together in order to play together. This raises some questions. So, okay, which mods work and which ones don't? I'll be going over some of that stuff in future videos, so make sure you subscribe to this channel in order to find out. I'm going to be testing a whole bunch of things. But so far, it seems like the more the mod changes in the actual world of the game, the more it's going to create potential for desyncing and crashing and those kinds of things. If you have mods that simply change the graphics a little bit on your end, but don't affect the experience for both players, or like the UI mods, things like that, that stuff is most likely going to work fine. So far with my testing, that stuff hasn't been so bad, but be careful. Make sure everybody has the same load order, all of that stuff, before you try using other mods. Number 3, stability. How stable is this? Well, it's Skyrim, and it's a mod for Skyrim, so it's not 100% stable. This is also still an early version of this. It's taken them a year and a half in order to put this together and get it launched out there for us to finally try, but that doesn't mean that it's a perfect experience. So be ready for crashes, be ready for desyncs, be ready for your game locking up or the other person's game locking up. But even though that stuff happens, it is an amazing experience to be able to play Skyrim together with somebody else or a group of other people. So here's what you need to know about when your game crashes and those kinds of things. The best way in order to get everyone back together and on the same page, resynced up, is to simply turn your game off. Everybody restart your game, load back in, reconnect to the server, and then go from there. There's a lot of benefits in auto-saving a lot or hitting F5, quick saving a lot, because you're going to load back to the place that was the last place you saved. All right, number 4, event order. Now this pertains to actually playing the game. One player is the host of the party. You create a party, everybody joins the party in order for everything to sync up. The person who runs the party has to initiate conversations with quest givers. They have to be the person who is the primary individual managing, picking up key items, those kinds of things. But the other players still have to interact with some of these things in order for things to progress correctly, because everything needs to sync up. One key example for the way that this works is the claw doors. The puzzles where you put the claw in and then you have to slide the little bands around to get to the right animals in order to open up the doors. One of the quirks we ran into when trying this out is that one of us was able to do this, and then they saw the door open, but the other person didn't see the door open, so they needed to do it too. Also, another quirk was that one of us had the claw and the other person didn't. The way to solve that was for the person with the claw to drop it, the other person picks it up, and then they're able to use it as well. So if you don't get everything all synced up, there are ways around that. So be aware, event order is important. Number 5, the weirdness. You're going to experience some weird stuff because this is a mod that does things that Skyrim was never intended to do. So sometimes when you're fighting enemies, it will look like they don't match up. There are invisible enemies. You'll see somebody run into an invisible wolf and you'll be like, why are you swinging at the air? You'll both be fighting an enemy and think that one of you killed it and the other person is still fighting that enemy. Or the enemy looks like it runs out of its health, but it's still alive and still swinging. Keep attacking. Eventually, if you both do enough damage, the enemy will die. Also, animation weirdness, enemies, and the physics is a little bit weird with this. You'll see enemies and dead bodies sliding around. There's one moment where we were running across the tables in Whiterun, and all of a sudden, all the dishes just slowly slid off the tables. Weird stuff like that. You'll also see things like guards just kind of sliding around, almost like they have skates on because they're not animating when they move. There was also another glitch where one of us saw the same guard with a shield, and the other person saw that same guard with a torch, and they were holding their arm out weird with the shield, but it's because on the other person's game they had a torch in their hands. Really weird stuff like that happens. So just be ready for that stuff. It's not game breaking. It's just a little bit funny. All right, here's the bonus thing I mentioned at the end. So there is a way to level hack in this. Even if PvP is off, you can still attack each other. It doesn't do damage, but it still registers in the game as if you were attacking a individual, an NPC, somebody else in the game, an enemy. So that means that if you want to level up, say, your sword skill, you can just wail on your friend. It doesn't do any damage, but it's going to level up your sword skill or your fire skill for your destruction magic or whatever. So that is kind of a thing you need to be aware of. Obviously, you can use this to break the game, but then again, you could just use console commands in order to level yourself up. So it's not like it's the end of the world. Just be aware that if you are accidentally hitting each other a lot, it's going to turn into extra leveling for your characters. And I'm going to throw one extra little bonus tip here at the end. When you are in a dungeon, if you die and the other person stays alive, then you will respawn at the beginning of the dungeon. So one of the other side benefits of quick saving a lot, F5, 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 is that instead of going back to the beginning of the dungeon and having to run all the way through the dungeon to catch up with your friend, you can just go quick load your last save and it will put you back to where you were when you saved that. If you enjoyed this video, if you want to come back for more Mod Masters and other modding stuff, or if you want to check out some of my live streams where I will be testing these mods out during my actual live play, make sure to like and subscribe and do all the YouTube stuff. We'll see you next time.